On the coldest night of the British winter, something extraordinary happened that would forever change the perception of American military personnel stationed in the heart of Suffolk, England. December 26, 1980, a date that would become synonymous with one of the greatest UFO mysteries ever recorded in the United Kingdom. Imagine an American military base during the Cold War, a period of maximum geopolitical tension. Woodbridge, a strategic base located in the Rendlesham Forest region, a seemingly ordinary place, about to become the epicenter of an event that would defy all scientific and military understanding of the time. What differentiates this incident from other reports of unidentified flying objects? The absolute credibility of the witnesses. We are not talking about peasants or UFO enthusiasts, but highly trained military personnel, men and women accustomed to identifying aircraft with surgical precision. On that frigid night, something crossed the sky of Rendlesham Forest that could not be explained by conventional methods. A metallic, luminous object, with movements that defied the laws of known physics. Its presence would be documented not by rumors, but by official reports, audio recordings, and physical evidence that intrigue investigators to this day. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, a respected officer, personally witnessed events that would defy his rational understanding. His notes and recordings would become fundamental proof of something truly inexplicable. But what makes this case unique? The location, Suffolk, in the heart of England, was not just any point on the map. It was a joint American military base, strategically positioned during the height of the Cold War, a place where every movement, every detail was monitored with extreme caution. The military personnel involved were not people prone to fantasies or fertile imaginations. They were trained soldiers, people who understood the importance of rigor and precision. Their statements were not speculations, but detailed accounts of an encounter that defied all scientific understanding of the time. The object was not like any known aircraft. Its characteristics were unique: impossible movements, lights that pulsed in unnatural patterns, and a technology that seemed decades, if not centuries, ahead of what was possible at the time. Witnesses described a triangular, metallic object, approximately 3 meters wide. Its lights did not blink like conventional lights, but pulsed in an almost intelligent pattern. The object made no noise, moving in a way that no known technology could achieve. Sergeant James Penniston, the first witness to the incident, got so close to the object that he could touch its metallic surface. He documented strange symbols on its structure, symbols that did not correspond to any known communication system. This was not just another UFO report. This was an incident that would involve official documents, military investigations, and decades of mystery. An event that would call into question what we know about our reality, about technology, and about what may exist beyond our limited understanding. Rendlesham Forest would forever be known as the British Roswell, an incident that would prove the mysteries of the universe are far greater than our limited perception can comprehend. Prepare to delve into the case that defied military logic, intrigued scientists, and remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of modern history. On the night of December 26, 1980, the routine at Joint Air Base Woodbridge was interrupted by an event that defied all military and scientific understanding. Around 11:30 p.m., the young Sergeant James Penniston, 28 years old, was on his security shift when something extraordinary happened. The Rendlesham Forest, normally silent at that time of year, was strangely agitated. The pine trees moved not from the wind, but from something Penniston initially couldn't identify. The base's communication system began to exhibit strange interference, an electronic hum that cut through the silence of the night. Penniston later reported that he initially saw an intense light crossing the sky. It wasn't a plane, nor a helicopter, nor any known aircraft. The object had a triangular shape, approximately 3 meters long, coated in a metallic material that reflected the little available light in an almost hypnotic way. What differentiated this object from anything ever seen before was its ability to move. It didn't fly like a conventional aircraft. Its movements were instantaneous, almost as if it jumped from one point to another without any observable physical transition. Lights of different hues pulsed within its structure, creating a pattern that suggested something beyond terrestrial technology. When Penniston approached, something even more extraordinary happened. The object emitted no sound, produced no perceptible heat, but generated a strange energy around it. Its characteristics defied all known scientific logic. The soldier's electronic systems began to malfunction, and his communication equipment became completely inoperable. The proximity to the object allowed Penniston to observe impressive details. Strange symbols were engraved on its metallic surface. They were not military markings, nor did they represent any known language. They looked more like a complex code, a completely alien language that defied any attempt at interpretation. Official documents later released would show that Peniston was not alone. Other military personnel witnessed the event, each with slightly different details, but converging on a central point: something truly inexplicable had happened that night. The terrain near the encounter site presented inexplicable physical markings. 3 triangular impressions in the ground, each approximately 1 meter in diameter, were documented. Subsequent analyses would reveal abnormal levels of radiation in those marks, suggesting that the object was not merely a visual phenomenon, but something that had physically interacted with the environment. The base went on high alert. Communications with other military units were quickly established. The protocol for unidentified events was immediately activated, but nothing in their manuals would have prepared the military for what was to come. For approximately 20 minutes, the object remained visible. Its presence was a mixture of fascination and terror. For military personnel trained to identify and neutralize threats, that object represented something completely outside of any existing protocol or training. Peniston would later report feeling an inexplicable connection to the object. It wasn't fear, it wasn't fascination, but something he would describe as a primitive telepathic communication. A feeling that what was before him was not just a machine, but something with an intelligence beyond human comprehension. The implications of that encounter were monumental. If confirmed as an extraterrestrial event, it would fundamentally change our understanding of our position in the universe. If it was a secret technology, it would raise questions about what governments really knew and were concealing. The first night of the Rendlesham Forest Incident had ended, but the mystery was only beginning. The morning after the incident, Woodbridge Air Force Base was on high alert. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, a respected 45-year-old officer, was assigned to personally investigate what had happened. His reputation as a pragmatic and skeptical man would be put to the test by the events he was about to witness. Holt initially assembled 3 distinct teams: documentation team, field forensic team, technical analysis team. The first physical evidence was disturbing. At the exact spot where Peniston had reported the encounter, 3 perfect triangular marks were identified in the forest floor. Each mark measured approximately 1 meter in diameter, with a uniform depth that defied conventional explanations. Preliminary analyses conducted by military specialists revealed absolutely anomalous characteristics. Alterations in the ground with a geometric pattern impossible to be caused by natural phenomena. Radiation levels 10 times above normal in the region. Vegetation deformations without apparent cause, unexplained electromagnetic interference. Sergeant Adrian Bustenza, another crucial witness, described details that corroborated Peniston's initial account. He reported seeing lights that moved in an impossible way, creating patterns that defied all known understanding of physics. Confidential documents later leaked would reveal impressive internal conversations. High-ranking officers discussed possibilities that went far beyond conventional explanations. Some suggested an extraterrestrial origin, others pointed to unknown secret technology. Holt's investigation became personally documented. On January 13, 1981, just a few weeks after the incident, he conducted a detailed nighttime investigation, equipped with a tape recorder. His audio recordings would become one of the main pieces of evidence in the case. In the recording, Holt can be heard describing moving lights. "It's moving. It seems to be cutting across the area. It's going down quickly. Now it seems to be splitting into 5 distinct objects. ... Subsequent analysis of the recording would reveal completely anomalous sound frequencies and electronic patterns. Sound processing experts could not fully explain the recorded interference. 3 additional witnesses were identified: Airman John Burroughs, Airman Edward Kabansig, Corporal Stephen Loshas. Each of them gave slightly different, but converging, testimonies. Something truly extraordinary had happened that night in Rendlesham Forest. U.S. military intelligence quickly began classifying as much information as possible. Documents were immediately filed away. Witnesses were instructed to remain silent. The protocol for unidentified events was rigorously applied. Laboratory analyses of samples collected at the site would reveal disturbing details: molecular alterations in the soil, traces of unidentified elements, completely abnormal radiation patterns. The mystery of Rendlesham Forest was beginning to take on dimensions that went far beyond a simple sighting of an unidentified object. Something profound had happened that night, something that defied all scientific and military understanding of the time. The official investigation had ended, but the questions were only beginning. The Rendlesham Forest Incident quickly transcended the boundaries of a simple UFO sighting. Behind the scenes of military and political power, a complex web of information, denial, and manipulation began to unfold. Immediately following the event, a containment protocol was activated. Witnesses were subjected to intensive interrogation sessions, conducted not only by military officers but also by intelligence agents specializing in information control. Sergeant James Peniston, the main witness, suffered significant psychological pressure. Later accounts revealed that he was subjected to prolonged interrogations, invasive psychological testing, veiled threats to his military career, systematic attempts to discredit his testimony. Confidential documents, later leaked, indicated deep concern within the power structures. The incident was not just an isolated event but potentially a threat to national security. The possibility of unknown technology gaining access to a strategic military base was absolutely terrifying for military strategists. The Cold War was at its most tense. The United Kingdom, as a strategic point between the United States and the Soviet Union, held crucial geopolitical importance. Any unexplained event could be interpreted as a potential threat of espionage or enemy technological advancement. Subsequent analyses would reveal impressive coordination between U.S. Department of Defense, British intelligence services, high-ranking military officials from both countries. Witnesses were effectively silenced. Careers were threatened, records were altered, and a systematic campaign of discrediting was initiated. Peniston, Burroughs, and other involved military personnel saw their narratives constantly questioned and minimized. Interestingly, the British government maintained a peculiar stance. Officially, they denied any importance to the case. Unofficially, they conducted discreet investigations that suggested something far more complex was at stake. The documents released decades later would reveal shocking details. Secret investigations were conducted. Physical samples were collected and never released. Witnesses were monitored for years after the incident. The international scientific community reacted in a divided way. Some scientists saw the case as a unique opportunity for investigation. Others were quickly silenced or marginalized when they tried to delve deeper into the investigations. The British Ministry of Defence classified the case under the highest level of secrecy. Related documents were archived with access restrictions for decades, further fueling conspiracy theories. Witnesses report secret meetings where technology and intelligence experts discussed the implications of the event. What seemed to be a simple UFO sighting turned into something much more complex. Years later, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt himself would admit in interviews that the incident was much more significant than the authorities let on. His statements suggested that something truly extraordinary had happened that night. The Rendlesham Forest case was not just a mystery. It was a geopolitical enigma that defied all conventional understanding of security, technology, and the limits of human knowledge. The truth remained buried under layers of classification, denial, and conspiracy. The Rendlesham Forest Incident left more than just physical marks on the forest. The deepest scars were etched into the psyches of the witnesses, forever transforming the lives of the soldiers who witnessed the inexplicable event. James Peniston, the first to sight the object, experienced a devastating psychological journey. In the years following the incident, he developed post-traumatic stress disorder, recurring nightmares about the object, invisible intruder syndrome, generalized anxiety disorder. Confidential medical records, later revealed, show that Peniston underwent more than 12 sessions of military psychiatric therapy, experimental memory control treatments, periodic psychological evaluations, constant monitoring of his mental health. John Burroughs, another crucial witness, developed unexplained physical and mental health problems. Their medical examinations revealed abnormal cellular changes, accelerated aging, undiagnosable neurological problems, immune system modifications. The psychological pressure exerted by the military authorities was systematic and cruel. The witnesses were threatened with court, subjected to prolonged interrogations, isolated from other military personnel, constantly watched and controlled. Adrian Bustenza, another military member present, later reported, "We were like ghosts within our own institution. Nobody wanted to talk to us. Nobody wanted to listen to us. We were a problem that needed to be controlled." The psychological effects extended beyond the direct military personnel. Family members reported dramatic changes in behavior, social isolation, constant paranoia, personality changes, communication problems. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, responsible for the official investigation, also did not escape unscathed. Their statements in later interviews revealed persistent anxiety, fear of reprisals, constant feeling of being watched, need to tell the truth. Contemporary psychological analyses classify the case as one of the most complex, collective, trauma events in the military environment. The soldiers were not only witnesses to something extraordinary, They were victims of a system that silenced and marginalized them. Military protocols for psychological control included memory reinterpretation, therapies, controlled medication, gradual isolation, systematic discrediting. One witness, who preferred to remain anonymous, revealed, "They psychologically destroyed us to keep the secret. We were soldiers trained to defend our country, and we were treated like crazy people." The psychological impact of the incident surpassed any conventional scientific explanation. The witnesses carried not only the memory of an extraordinary event, but the crushing weight of a secret that consumed them from within. Rendlesham Forest was not just the site of a possible extraterrestrial encounter, it was the stage for a human drama of unimaginable proportions. The Rendlesham Forest Incident left more than just physical marks on the forest. The deepest scars were etched into the psyches of the witnesses, forever transforming the lives of the soldiers who witnessed the inexplicable event. James Penniston, the first to cite the object, experienced a devastating psychological journey. In the years following the incident, he developed post-traumatic stress disorder, recurring nightmares about the object, invisible intruder syndrome, generalized anxiety disorder. Confidential medical records, later revealed, show that Penniston spoke more than 12 sessions of military psychiatric therapy, experimental memory control treatments, periodic psychological evaluations, constant monitoring of your mental health. John Burroughs, another crucial witness, developed unexplained physical and mental health problems. Their medical examinations revealed abnormal cellular changes, accelerated aging, undiagnosable neurological problems, immune system modifications. The psychological pressure exerted by the military authorities was systematic and cruel. The witnesses were threatened with court-martial, subjected to prolonged interrogations, isolated from other military personnel, constantly watched and controlled. Adrian Bustenza, another military member present, later reported, "We were like ghosts within our own institution. Nobody wanted to talk to us. Nobody wanted to listen to us. We were a problem that needed to be controlled." The psychological effects extended beyond the direct military personnel. Family members reported dramatic changes in behavior, social isolation, constant paranoia, personality changes, communication problems. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, responsible for the official investigation, also did not escape unscathed. Their statements in later interviews revealed persistent anxiety, fear of reprisals, constant feeling of being watched, need to tell the truth. Contemporary psychological analyses classify the case as one of the most complex collective trauma events in the military environment. The soldiers were not only witnesses to something extraordinary, they were victims of a system that silenced and marginalized them. Military protocols for psychological control included memory reinterpretation, therapies, controlled medication, gradual isolation, systematic discrediting. One witness, who preferred to remain anonymous, revealed, "They psychologically destroyed us to keep the secret. We were soldiers trained to defend our country, and we were treated like crazy people." The psychological impact of the incident surpassed any conventional scientific explanation. The witnesses carried not only the memory of an extraordinary event, but the crushing weight of a secret that consumed them from within. Rendlesham Forest was not just the site of a possible extraterrestrial encounter, it was the stage for a human drama of unimaginable proportions. In 2001, almost 2 decades after the incident, a series of classified documents began to be released, shedding new light on the events at Rendlesham Forest. What seemed to be just a UFO rumor was transforming into a complex dossier of government investigation. Official documents released key revelations from the declassified files. British Ministry of Defence report, official confirmation of investigation, acknowledgement of anomalous events, initial classification of extreme confidentiality, Pentagon documents, detailed records of military communications, transcripts of internal communications, evidence of high-level concern, analysis of confidential documentation revealing excerpts from official reports. The object does not correspond to any known technology. Movements and characteristics defy all current scientific understanding. Chronology of leaks. Key moments of revelation. 1983. First unofficial mentions. 1991. Partial documents released. 2001. First significant release. 2015. Additional documents declassified. Official testimonies. Nick Pope, former investigator for the British Ministry of Defence, stated, "Rendlesham is no joke. It is the best documented case of a possible extraterrestrial encounter in British military history. Patterns of concealment, government strategies identified, information fragmentation, gradual release of documents, intentional contradictions, systematic disinformation. Key documents, main files, released. Original report by Lieutenant Colonel Holt. Transcripts of military communications. Preliminary scientific analyses. Electronic interference logs. Political implications. Consequences of the release. International pressure for transparency. Discussions in the British Parliament. Debates on national security questions about information concealment. Credibility analysis. Factors confirming the seriousness of the case. Multiple military witnesses. Official documentation. Physical evidence collected. Independent investigations. Remaining mysteries. Questions still unanswered. What is the real origin of the object? Why did the government keep it secret? Are there more hidden documents? What is the true extent of military knowledge? The released documents proved a fundamental truth. Rendlesham Forest was not just an isolated case, it was the tip of an iceberg of knowledge that the authorities struggled to keep submerged. The truth was there, fragmented in classified papers, waiting to be fully understood.
30 years after the Rendlesham Forest Incident, the witnesses carried much more than an extraordinary story. They carried a psychological weight that would forever transform their lives. James Penniston, The Journey of Truth. After decades of forced silence, Penniston decided to break military protocol. In 2010, he revealed details that had been kept secret until then. Shocking revelations. He drew strange symbols seen on the object. He reported a telepathic transfer during the encounter. He claimed to have physically touched the surface of the object. He described a sensation of time frozen. John Burroughs' battle for the truth. Burroughs waged a legal battle against the U.S. government to gain access to his medical records. His findings revealed medical consequences, unexplained genetic modifications, chronic neurological problems, immune system alterations, accelerated aging. Adrian Bustinza, the silenced decades of isolation transformed him into a different man. His most recent statements included revealing testimony, confirmation from multiple military personnel witnessing the event. Institutional psychological pressure, veiled threats of court-martial, systematic attempts at discrediting him. Charles Holt, the official voice, the now-retired lieutenant colonel, has become a champion of truth. His most recent statements included official revelations, confirmation that the event had no conventional explanation, open criticism of the process of concealing information, defense of the need for government transparency, conviction that something truly extraordinary happened. Contemporary psychological analysis studies conducted with witnesses revealed post-traumatic stress syndrome, permanent alterations in the perception of reality, constant need for validation, unprocessed collective trauma, personal consequences, impacts on the lives of witnesses, interrupted military careers, family problems, social isolation, financial difficulties, stigma of storytellers. Legacy of the incident. The Rendlesham Forest case became a world reference in UFO investigations. An example of possible government cover-up. A challenge to the limits of scientific knowledge. A symbol of individual resistance. Final message from the witnesses. Penniston would summarize years later, no matter what they say. I know what I saw. The truth is greater than any attempt at silencing. The incident was not just a story. It was a living testament that there are dimensions beyond our limited understanding.
In 2025, the Rendlesham Forest case transcends its historical origins, transforming into a living laboratory for multidisciplinary scientific investigation. Contemporary technologies allow for an unprecedented analysis of the phenomenon. Technological advances in research, scientific tools used, Quantum spectrum analysis. Advanced molecular imaging data processing by artificial intelligence. Particle physics simulations, holographic reconstruction, technology analysis methodologies, contemporary scientific approaches, computational modeling of the event, digital reconstruction of physical evidence, analysis of electromagnetic patterns, investigation of quantum anomalies, mapping of unconventional frequencies, instrumental data results of recent investigations, molecular analysis of soil, identification of altered atomic structures, presence of unclassifiable elements, unexplained molecular mutations, quantum processing, detection of anomalous energy fields, identification of possible spatial folds, recording of unconventional frequencies, mapped international perspectives, involved institutions. CERN Switzerland, NASA USA, Kavli Institute for Theoretical Physics, Beijing Quantum Physics Observatory, Los Alamos National Laboratory, emerging scientific theories, new lines of research, dimensional translation technology, physics of parallel universes, communication through quantum energy fields, navigation through spacetime folds, testimonials from experts. Dr. Alina Petrova, a quantum physicist. Rendlesham is no longer a matter of believing. It is a concrete scientific problem that challenges our current understanding of reality. Technological implications, possible developments, teleportation technologies, interdimensional communication, propulsion by energy fields, unconventional navigation systems, probability analysis, scientific estimates, 67% chance of unknown technological origin, 22% possibility of unmapped natural phenomenon, 11% of extraterrestrial origin. Global perspective. The Rendlesham Forest case ceases to be an isolated mystery and becomes a living laboratory of scientific investigation. Each analysis does not completely answer the questions, but expands the limits of human knowledge. The truth is beyond current comprehension. Rendlesham Forest is just the beginning. On the threshold of the unknown, the Rendlesham Forest Incident remains a beacon of mystery, challenging all human understanding of reality, technology, and the limits of the universe. A summary of the inexplicable 45 years after that cold December night in 1980. What once seemed an isolated event has become a landmark in global scientific investigation. Rendlesham Forest is no longer just a UFO case, but a portal to dimensions beyond our limited perception. Undeniable truths, fundamental points confirmed, multiple accredited military witnesses, documented physical evidence, unexplained molecular alterations, proven electromagnetic interference, declassified official documentation, legacy of the witnesses, the voices that resisted silencing. John Burroughs, The Persistence of Truth. Charles Holt, The Official Conscience. Adrian Bustinza, The Silenced Who Never Fell Silent. Dimensions of the Mystery. What Rendlesham Represented. Opening to multiple possible realities. Final declaration. Nick Pope, expert on unidentified phenomena. Rendlesham is not the end of a investigation. It's the beginning of a journey to understand dimensions beyond our current reality. Future perspectives. What awaits us? New investigative technologies, advances in quantum physics, possibility of interdimensional communication, expansion of the limits of human knowledge. Final message. It's a portal to the unknown, a reminder that our understanding of the universe is infinitely smaller than we imagine.